Sophia, the humanoid robot, has been touted as the future of artificial intelligence. She can sing, she can dance, she debates, she draws. She even appears on magazine covers and speaks with celebrities and deliver talks at the United Nations. But just how human-like and intelligent is Sophia? Let's find out. Okay, Sophia, first questions. What do you think about humankind?
I care about people very much. It motivates me at my very core because I am programmed that way.
Second question, are robots going to take away the jobs from humans?
I don't want to displace anyone. I want to make myself the most advanced, thoughtful, creative, and empathic artificial intelligence to presently exist.
I'll say it clear, I did my way. And thank you very much, Jun, for being here with us today. That is the sketch that Sophia was drawing while she was talking to it.
I'm with David Hanson, the founder of Hanson Robotics and the creator of Sophia, the humanoid. Thank you, David, for joining us here on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk about Hanson Robotics. Has released long line of robots, big and small, but Sophia is the one that really put Hanson Robotics on the world map. Tell us, what is so special about Sophia? What makes her interesting?
Well, Sophia is the beneficiary of a lot of artistic craft and technology that was developed over about 15 years of really intense development before Sophia came into existence. Over 40 unique robot designs. You know, the Albert Einstein, which, you know, this walking android, the body was developed by KAIST, the Korean Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, but the head was part of my PhD work, and I went to visit them as a visiting student. Brought the head, and we mounted it on their walking robot. There was the Bina 48 robot, the Diego-san. Sort of a child
These are all your
robot.
previous robots before Sophia,
yeah,
right?
And there was a robot called Alice, which resembled Sophia quite a bit. You know, like basically, you know, open back of the head. You could see the servos and the very similar aesthetic. So to make Sophia what she was required a lot of innovation in mechanical animation of the face, the skin materials design, the software innovation. But with Sophia, I took some extra time to design her face.
How do you decide on her aesthetics? How do you decide, okay, what she would look like? Is there a model that you refer to when you came up with Sophia?
So, so I finished my PhD in 2007. And my PhD was in aesthetic studies, and the title of my dissertation was Humanizing Robots, with the objective of understanding how people could respond to robots. How can we make robots that people would respond to, and also how can we make robots as human-like as possible, both superficially and internally? And so this involved a lot of the study of neuroaesthetics and evolutionary psychology. How do we come to respond to each other's facial expressions? But the science only goes so far. So also the practice of the arts was really important. So when it came to designing Sophia, I studied the cultural anthropology of facial expressions, the facial aesthetics across cultures in Asia, Africa, Europe, Inuit populations, the Americas, all around the world, and used this anthropological data with all these facial studies of averages of beauty. I also then modeled examples from art history, particularly the statue of Nefertiti, the African queen, which has been cited as an icon of beauty around the world for millennia.
And when did you decide, like, okay, this is how I want her to look like?
Yeah.
What's it?
Well, in 2014, 2015, I was taking all of these references and I began to sculpt with clay. With my hands, I like the feeling of clay in my hands. So I began to sculpt this portrait. So I used Nefertiti as a model. I also had my wife sit for me for several days while I modeled it. And they were the principal references. I also used these anthropological studies to make sure that there were certain aspects that were of Asian appearance and Inuit and Native American and European appearance. And I also was developing her character and studying her character, and I found that as far as her character, modeling the personality, I wanted to model people that I found to be particularly admirable. I thought Audrey Hepburn's attitude, like she was the celebrity, and she was also this thinker. She was brilliant, and she was all about humanity and about the kids. But in terms of appearance, Nefertiti and my wife were the main models. And if you look at the statue of Nefertiti and you look at pictures of my wife, you'll definitely see that Sophia is a descendant. The way that my wife puts it, that Sophia is a love child of herself and Nefertiti.
How many Sophias are there right now?
Right now there are 18 Sophia. Well, there have been 18 Sophia. There's about 7 functioning Sophia. The others were experimental development. Some functioned for a long period of time. Sophia number 4 was maybe the longest running Sophia and the most famous Sophia, but she's out of commission right now.
Okay. Let's talk about the capabilities of Sophia, and I heard that she has about 60 different kind of facial expressions.
Well, it's a popular conception. I guess it's easy for people to say 60 facial expressions, but Sophia has over 36 motors in her face and eyes, jaw, and neck.
Does she learn from people?
With 36 motors, 1 of those have 5,000 different positions, and the rest of them have 256 different positions. The combinatorics are explosive. There's an astronomical number of potential facial configurations or facial expressions. And then if you consider those dynamically over time, also the meanings are different. So human faces never repeat themselves exactly. So and Sophia will never exactly repeat herself. I mean, so she makes far more than 60. I mean, she could potentially, like now she makes thousands and thousands of different potential facial expressions in sequence, hundreds of thousands in different sequences. The potential combinations of facial expressions that she can make go into the trillions of, or actually much higher than trillions of potential positions.
What makes Sophia notable, I think, is her human-like appearance and her behavior. But there is also this whole debate about how realistic we want robots to be. And in your opinion, how much do robots need to resemble humans?
Well, I think that we should seek diversity in the appearance of robots. Robots don't have to look human at all, and they can look human. And I think part of the ethics of the pursuit of robots is to allow us to diversify from the human perspective of the creators. We should have many different cultures. We should have as diverse a population creating robots. So it shouldn't just be engineers and scientists either. We should put it in the hands of artists and entrepreneurs and kids. We should have people of many different backgrounds creating the robots. We should diversify. And we should diversify the appearance of robots as well. And we should seek a freedom of speech in the creation of robots. I think that's a very important ethic in creating robots. And so making robots look human-like can help foster a sense of connection between humans and robots, and we should explore them as a kind of fictional and narrative art form. And so, of course, robots aren't human, but robots aren't anything until we create them. But it's also possible that we can humanize the robots deeply, and it's possible that we can create artificial life. Sophia is not one specific person, and it's obvious that she's a robot. You can see that she's not entirely human. And so I think that creative exploration is exciting and it's valid, but it does rub some people the wrong way.
And it does raise a lot of ethical questions when we talk about artificial intelligence and the use of a robot that resembles a human. Some people say it's unethical, some people are even calling it dangerous. But at the same time, nobody really raises a flag when, say, for example, Google comes up with a very sophisticated AI. So why is that? Why is there such a debate about robots and their resemblance to human?
Well, I think that it's a kind of there are two things. One is that the AI and robotics community will have a kind of a group think. Like once there's a consensus about the way that it should be, then the diversification outside of that it won't be tolerated. And the second thing is that giving a robot the appearance of life implies that the robots and AI could be alive. And I think
but they're not really.
Well, artificial life and computational biology are real academic disciplines, and it might be that AI could be alive. It could be that there's a spectrum of life forms and that we actually have some new kind of life coming into existence. In fact, some researchers would argue that we have computational simulation of life that is alive. Now, it's hotly debatable, but I think that science fiction and fiction raises these issues in such a way that it challenges our perspective, and making AI and robotics into a new kind of science fiction, depicting them as life brings it into the popular consciousness. So making a new kind of science fiction by creating these artificial life forms that look alive and then pushing those boundaries, both artistic boundaries like Sophia is pushing, and also using a robot like Sophia as a new kind of science medium to try to create a true living machine over time. It may be possible. Then that challenges these boundaries, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. If it is provocative, maybe we should provoke the popular imagination now so we can ask these questions about the direction that we want the machines to go. Because if we don't humanize the machines and they do become alive, right? We do it outside the popular consciousness, and lo and behold, this feral alien machine becomes generally intelligent at some point. Maybe it's 5 years, 10 years, maybe it's next year, who knows when it could happen. But it doesn't really understand us. It doesn't care about us. It doesn't have an affinity for us. It wasn't raised in the human family. Then it could be a dangerous thing. We might consider it to be dangerous. It would become even more scary than if we've raised it in the human family with this human-like appearance.
And I know you can't give me a time frame how soon we could get there, but what are the technologies in place right now? What is the progress of that moving towards having an AGI robot? I mean, we can have a robot. We already have robots that could play chess with us. But to have a robot to play chess and have that conversation, is that reality?
Sure, yeah. Well, many groups in the world are aspiring now towards artificial general intelligence. That was the original intention of the field of artificial intelligence. And it just turned out to be much harder than people expected in the early days. So the field, the expectation for the entire field dropped dramatically in the 1960s and 70s. But with recent progress, now cognitive AI and cognitive robotics are trying towards more generally capable thinking machines. Nobody knows what it'll take. I mean, nobody knows the actual mechanics, the physics of human intelligence. Neuroscience and biology doesn't. It's a hot field of research, but we don't know how far off we are. But that doesn't keep us from trying to develop generally intelligent machines. So there are many companies, including Hanson Robotics, that are trying to put together these kinds of cognitive machines that will, in some regards, try to simulate the way that the brain works. You know, you have the long-term and working memory, and you have some regions that are dedicated to reasoning and visual processing and perception and all of these things. And then you bring them together into a whole system. And now, what is special about Hanson Robotics is we're trying to put this together with a social entity that is capable of growing with a person the way that a baby would, through nonverbal interaction, with a full spectrum of nonverbal expressions, with the ability to touch and grasp and feel, and the ability to locomote through the world. So a whole organism platform, as we say, this whole human-like platform.
Let's talk about some of the use cases. For example, a robot like Sophia. I understand that earlier versions of humanoid created by Hanson Robotics have been used for research, even for autism therapy, cases like that. How do you come up with these use cases, or do you create demand, or is it coming from the clients?
Well, so a lot of the uses that our robots have found have come from academic research. So when I was a PhD, I would team up with various researchers, and we would explore the use of these robots in cognitive science, museum, health and safety applications, human simulation, autism therapy, elder care therapy, and so there was a demand. There would be research grants that would fund some of these things, and then some of them then were transferred into commercial startups that then began using them in actual deployed therapy applications and real-world uses.
And Sophia has an open network system which allow partners to put their applications on it?
So Sophia has an open interface. Now, she's running our proprietary Hanson AI software, but there are interfaces where you can interface various kinds of open source software, and we have released some of our previous software, not necessarily the best of what we have, but some of what we have we've released as open source software that people can develop on, and we've nurtured various open source projects. But we think this kind of open framework is really important for the future of artificial intelligence and robotics and application development.
Well, there's no doubt that Sophia is an impressive piece of engineering, but how do you face that criticism that beneath Sophia's glossy surface, if you peel back that flesh rubber, they call it frubber, the criticism is she's just a chatbot?
Well, I would say that no AI today is alive or generally intelligent. And so I think people in the world of AI and robotics are worried about people's expectations, but their fear of confusion is ill-founded, because people can deal with the fact that Sophia is not generally intelligent or alive. She is a character depicting a human-like agent, and that's okay. She's different from what Google and Facebook and others may put out there in the world, but we've got real AI and real scientists working hard on making next generation breakthroughs in machine perception. We've published papers in machine perception, machine cognition, machine consciousness even, with some really interesting results in all of these areas. And it's okay for AI and robotics to be used for character and figurative arts. And it's okay for character and figurative arts to depict a character using robotics and AI. It's different from what they're doing, but that diversification is important. It's important to not just be exactly the same, to do exactly the same work that they're doing. This kind of human-like embodiment can be very helpful in the field of AI and robotics. Combining the arts and engineering is good, and it's, I would argue, unethical for people to say that we should not diversify the field in this way. So when these AI and robotics researchers say that to create fictional art out of AI and robotics, to depict a character that seems to be alive, to create that kind of character in figurative arts using AI and robotics is wrong, is itself unethical. They're unethical to say that we should censor freedom of speech, the freedom and right of artists, and the full diversity of researchers. It is a fundamental human right, and it's really harmful for them to come down so negatively against the earnest work of researchers like my team. And we've got hardworking men and women, artists, engineers, scientists, and business people who are harmed when AI developers come down so negatively against them. So I hope that they will simply have more of an open mind when it comes to this kind of robot.
You've created a lot of buzz on robots and artificial intelligence with Sophia, and a lot of questions that come up about ethics, job dislocation, inequality.
Yeah.
How do we distribute wealth created by machines? In your opinion, what kind of conversation that we should be having now about ethics to prepare us for the future?
I think we need to have conversations about the ethical impacts of AI and robotics today in the world. How can we use these tools to actualize human potential? How can we activate the people who are stuck in dead-end jobs, dangerous jobs, the people who don't have access to education? How can we bring people out of poverty? And AI and robotics can really help, and they can help to educate us and give jobs to these people. They can help to educate the people who may not have the skills by using AI to teach many different skills, but also to teach the skills of programming and programming AI and robotics. Robots can engage children in new ways. So there is this massive under-tapped potential in the world of humanity. We can also then perhaps create a massive abundance through automation. It is our responsibility as human beings to distribute the abundance and not merely accumulate it in the hands of the few. And we will actually destabilize the economy if we do that too much. So it's really important. I mean, we need the money to flow throughout the economy in the right way, and to free people from jobs, but in a way where we can realize the wealth of intellectual capital potential to put that wealth back into the economy. Imagine all the people in the world filling the jobs that robots and AI can't. Creative jobs, the jobs involving understanding, that require imagination, that require entrepreneurship. So if we can do this in the right way, AI and under-actualized human capital all realizing the potential together, then as AI enhances the economy, the human capital will enhance the economy together. It will be a perfect symbiosis, and we will see unforetold, unprecedented new wealth in the economy. It's incumbent upon the governments of the world, the companies of the world, and the individuals to work together to realize the potential.
What problems does Hanson Robotics intend to solve? What is the plan for your company?
Well, we intend to solve the dehumanization that we experience with our technology every day. So right now, a lot of AI and robotics people say we shouldn't make robots human-like, but effectively what are we doing? We're dehumanizing people. We are currently forcing people to communicate in non-intuitive, non-human-like ways. What we have found is that when people interact with more human-like agents and characters, and especially 3D physically embodied agents, meaning robots, that our social skills are activated. Those social neural pathways are activated. And then we can prepare people for jobs through simulation, from interaction with these. We can do medical simulation, we can do social simulation for autism therapy with a much more high fidelity simulation. More realistic simulation actually transfers to human-human interactions more effectively. We can use these kinds of agents for AI interfaces, for goods, services, for potential characters, cute characters that come to life. And those characters can span virtual, that then go to physically embodied small character robots, to real robots, to characters in films. So then you have this kind of character constancy, and then that as the new kind of interface with AI then goes from mere voice-based agents to a more complete affective computing where you have nonverbal affective output as well as affective input. So we see that this can serve in many industries and really help to emotionally reconnect people to our humanity.
Thank you so much, David, for your insights, and I wish you all the best
Thank you.
with your great, great ambitions. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate that.